more breaking news that happened 90 minutes ago. The Biden administration is canceling $39 billion in student debt for more than 800,000 borrowers. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona is saying this. For far too long, borrowers fell through the cracks of a broken system that failed to keep accurate track of their progress towards forgiveness. There's the statement.
Hey everyone, this is Rob from StageandSky.com, and I had some thoughts concerning the government trying to cancel student loan debts. They tried and pushed it through the Supreme Court last month, and the Supreme Court blocked it, but now Biden, first he sent out an email to everyone, I guess, who has student loans, like saying, hey, we're not going to give up on this fight. We think the Supreme Court's wrong. And then yesterday, it came out like news reports where it said like 38 billion of student loan debt's going to be canceled. Listen, I have some opinions that you may not have heard in the mainstream, and this is coming from a man who actually has paid off all his student loans. Like, it's by coincidence, but like last month, I literally paid off all my debt, all my student loan debts from like 2009. At the age of 36, I'm debt free, right? So you might think, oh, he's bitter, oh, he's jelly because all these other people, you know, they're about to get their student loans canceled, but he had to pay for his. Surprisingly, I'm not. Like, and I'm going to get into it. There's a lot of Christianity into why, but I want to focus mainly on the effects that it's going to have on our generation, millennials and the upcoming generation, when it comes to responsibility and consequences, okay? One of my biggest issues with Biden trying to cancel student loan debt is the consequences. It's another thing that's teaching people that no matter what you do, no matter what happens, you don't have to deal with the consequences of your decisions. I don't want to say mistakes, because sometimes decisions are just that, decisions, whether they're good or bad. Sometimes it's, you know, what you make of it, right? Also, I don't want to overlook that I do think I am in the camp of those who think that it's a little bit predatory to tell an 18-year-old, here's student loan debts, you know, without them going through proper hurdles and, you know, vetting process to see if you deserve to even go to college. But once you do go to college, because I used to be 18 and I wanted to get up out of my parents' house, went from Georgia to Tampa, and I signed away, yeah, I'll pay for student loans, like $60,000 to go to a film school. It was worth it just to get out of Georgia. I wasn't stupid, and even when I was a freshman in college, they kept telling me, hey, you know, with everything that you spend, you're gonna spend like 20 years trying to pay it off. I didn't care, all right? I own that was my problem, that was my mistake, and I owned it, you know? So for the last 15 years, I spent working and hustling and working my way up till now I'm 36. I paid off my student loans, and that doesn't bother me. When you teach our generation that no matter what they do, there's always someone to bail them out. There's always someone to take care of their decisions and their actions. It teaches them that they don't have to prioritize responsibility. It teaches them that they don't have to prioritize being good, to make wiser decisions. They keep doing stupid stuff because they know in the back of their minds they're entitled to someone helping them out. They're entitled to pointing the finger at everyone else instead of their own self, right? What do I mean by responsibilities? When you have a student loan debt where you have to pay like $400, $500 a month on top of already paying for rent and, you know, groceries and stuff like that, it does for most logical people. Like, you start to prioritize, you know, like stability. You start to prioritize getting your job, you know, the 9 to 5. When the idea of Biden, you know, canceling student debt came out, another article that came out was, oh, well, a lot of Gen Zers and millennials, they spent all this money that they thought they wouldn't have to put towards student loan debt. That's a clear example of irresponsibility and the teaching of bad behavior. You know, like that was completely foolish. That was stupid. It forces you to grow up, is what I'm saying. You know, like, it teaches you to grow up. I like to use the example of single mothers here. I know single mothers, especially in the Red Pill community, get a lot of flack when it comes to, oh, well, you should have waited till you got married. You should have, you know, married the right person, but you didn't. You had sex outside of wedlock, now you have a child, and now you're a problem. I don't want to harp on that. What I say is, because not all single mothers are the same. There are some single mothers who still have that entitlement even after they have children, where they want a high value man, whatever. I know my little brother married a single mom. My mom was a single mom before. She married my stepdad, who was a soldier, and I used to date a single mom. Some single moms, I don't know the percentage, but some single moms, when you have a child, you know, okay, my life is about to change. You know, no longer can I just go out to clubs and smoke weed all day, but I'm responsible for this other human being. You know, so they start to shake off, whether you're 21 or 26, you start to shake off all of those, oh, you know, I can do whatever I want, you know, throw caution to the wind. That they start to prioritize stability, responsibility, structure, discipline, you know, and they start looking for good men. That's the crux of what I'm really trying to say for my generation. A lot of my videos are about trying to get people together, to get married, not to have fun, not to just get laid and go out and date casually, whatever, but to get married, to start families. That's what we need, especially in the Black community, right? When you become a single mom, you have to think about your child. So you're not good mothers aren't going to bring around some bad Pookie and Ray Ray, who sleep on the couch all day, whatever. No, they're going to look for a man who has a job, who has 9 to 5, who isn't a scammer or a drug dealer or thief, whatever, who, values commitment, stuff like that. Like my ex-girlfriend who was a single mom, we got along so well. And I think she saw the value in me because I was a hard worker. I did what I said I was going to do. I had structure. There's not a lot of drama in my life. A lot of ladies, they like the roller coaster. They like the spontaneity. When you're a single mom, you ain't got time for all that. I'm talking about good single mothers. Some, they still do all that. But it's the responsibility that teaches you, okay, because I have a child, the consequence is that I can't prioritize fun the way I used to. I need to prioritize responsibility, good Christian men, Another problem that I see with the whole canceling student loan debts is that it promotes selfish behavior. All right, because we all know that when it comes to canceling student loan debt, it's going to come from taxpayers. That means someone else is paying for, again, your decisions. And that's another reason why I give a lot of credit to, I think a lot of people, their eyes are a little bit open. Like World Star posted, hey, Biden's canceling $38 million in debt. And I looked through the comment section, more and more people are opening their eyes. I think after the last election, they're like, nah, son. Not this time. You could tell it's like bribery. You're teaching kids, hey, you want this administration to pay for your loans? Well, you got to vote them in office. That's bribes. And a lot of people their eyes are waking up to this because they're like, no, you're not going to fool us again. And even if you are being bribed, you're enticed with that bribe. It is a selfish thing for you to say to yourself, I want to vote for Biden because he's going to cancel my student loan debt. That's going to be a burden on the rest of the country when you know that's not right. That's selfish behavior. Oh, I don't care. I'm doing my own. Yeah. Again, that's just bad, man. So I do want to end on the note of, Rock, aren't you're just being a little bit jealous and bitter because you had to pay for all your student loans, but all these other people, they're getting their loans canceled? Like, because you hear that's a common argument. I've seen Daily Wire where everyone say, hey, what about all those who paid off, their student loan debts? Are you going to get any money? Because that's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. I don't have that mentality because, one, there is something that, and not everyone thinks this way, I get that, but there is a reward to being able to say you accomplished a goal, that a lot of people, when you just have things handed to you, when you have your student loan debts canceled, you'll never know what that feels like. Like for me to work my butt off for over a decade and have my loans paid off, like that's something I can hold my head up high. I feel good knowing that I did that. The government didn't do that for me. I continue to pay it off. And, that's a joy that it's a blessing of the rewards of your hands, right? There's a scripture that talks about, the fruit of your labor is your reward. A lot of people, they don't understand that. A lot of people, and I'm talking about millennials, I've heard this constantly. I'm built differently, right? I'm addicted to production. I get my high off of accomplishment, right? I like working more so than being on vacation. I like being productive. I like looking at the end of the day, looking back at what I've done and said, yeah, I did that. I worked hard. I accomplished stuff. A lot of people aren't built like that. I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I'm just saying that this is how I'm built, right? So I love the fact that I was able to work hard and pay off my student loan debts. And that joy, that satisfaction, that reward of just knowing that I did that. A lot of millennial peers and Gen Zers, they'll never know what that feels like. That's one thing. And secondly, I think the reason why it doesn't bother me so much is the Christianity in me. What are you talking about? Well, the first one is prodigal son, because if you read the stories of the prodigal son, it does, prick at your heart a little bit. In the story of the prodigal son, you have two sons. One is responsible, so he stays on the father's field, he works with them, and he does the right thing. But the other son goes off and ventures and he squanders his inheritance and he has sex and does all these bad things, and it gets to a point that he becomes broke and destitute. He has to feed the pigs who's eating better than he is, right? And then he comes home because he's like, oh, you know what? I can go back home. My father, is wealthy, so he comes home, and then his father rewards him and has a banquet, and the older brother who's been responsible this whole time is like, hey, hold on, whoa, wait a minute. Why are you guys celebrating this guy? He went off and gallivanting around the world. He squandered his inheritance. He did what was bad. Why are you celebrating him? And the father says, but son, all this time you were with me. You could share in the spoils and do whatever you wanted, the other son was lost, but now he's found. That bothered me a little bit because it sounded like he was saying, hey, if you want, gallivanting around the world, then you can come back and be saved. Very often you hear of a lot of people who did live immoral lives. Oscar Wilde, like was one of those guys who was a homosexual. He lived a very promiscuous and worldly lifestyle. And then on his deathbed, he called for a priest to come and save him. That bothered me until, you realize, he's right. Like all this time, even though the prodigal son went off and gallivanted around the world, he still suffered. You don't see that in Facebook highlights. You don't see that in Instagram reels where you see people gallivanting around the world and they're posing in faraway destinations and they're on some yacht. All you see is just the highlights. You don't see the suffering. You don't see the loneliness. You don't see, okay, well, I had to pay for this, but now I'm like $100,000 in debt. You don't see any of that. Meanwhile, if you're responsible, you're living a very steady, comfortable lifestyle. God's looking out for you. You're benefiting from the blessing of doing what's good in his eyes. Another parable that comes to mind is the parable of the workers in the vine field, right? Now, if you read that one, if this is the first time you read this one, it's really going to make you upset. In that, this is Matthew chapter 20, you see workers who started at the beginning of the day, like early in the morning, they're working the vine field. And the owner of the vine field, he sees the guys working early in the morning, but with like every 3 hours, he just goes out and keeps getting new workers, like 9 o'clock. Okay, you come and work. Noon, come and work. And 3 p.m., you come work. Oh, you guys don't have a job, come work. And at the end of the day, when everyone's getting paid, this guy, the employer, pays everyone the same. He pays the 3 o'clock person the same, the noon person the same. And if you start at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're getting paid the same as those who start at 3 p.m. And that doesn't seem fair, right? It's like, I've been working all day. These guys have been working 2 hours. We get paid the same? What? And the worker and the employer says, hey, it's my money. You agreed to work for these wages at the beginning of the day. I'm honoring that agreement. I'm agreeing to pay this guy who started at 3 p.m. the same. It's my money. I can be generous. And I get it. Like from us here on earth, we're like, no, that's not fair. No, I don't want to hear it. But if you really reflect on the scriptures, for me, like it is a pleasure to work. It is a pleasure to use my hands and accomplish things. That to me is more important than the money. I know that sounds really weird and a lot of people can't fathom it. But like if I started at the beginning of the day and I accomplished more than those who started at 3 p.m., I can look back on the field and say, yeah, all that's me. That little pile, that's you. The money was great, but I just love working. I just love accomplishing. I love, just getting my hands dirty. That's why I really don't care too much to become a manager or become a supervisor position. I'm a soldier in the field. I'm a captain in the field. Like if you want me to be in charge of others, sure, I can do that. But still, have me in the field, have me working. That's my station in life. Being up in, the war room, where everyone, all you do all day is make decisions and meet one-on-one with people and talk about feelings and where do you want to go in your career? That's not me. I want to, at the end of the day, what did I do? What did I bust out? All that, yep, that's me. So when I see the student loan things and people complaining, oh, it's not fair that I had to pay for my student loans. I get that. But again, I think just, when you read the scriptures and, you really apply it to your life, you start to adopt, the attitude of, so what, man? Like, who cares what this world, like, Matthew chapter 6, verse 33 tells us, seek first the kingdom of heaven. Like, I love this. I love the gift of life. I want to enjoy it to the fullest. I do hope that I get married to make life a little bit easier, and because it's just ingrained in us as human beings to not be alone. So you want the companionship, the love and compassion of a woman. But personally, seek first the kingdom of heaven. My eyes are on the kingdom of heaven. I enjoy this life as much as I can, but I know there's a better world beyond this one. And until then, I try my best to not only enjoy life and the pleasures and the fruit of my labor, but also, like the Great Commission is to go forth and make disciples of all the nations. And through these videos, through my essays, I try to do that. Even if the topic is about something like student loan debts, I do try to impress the Christianity in all of that. All right. Okay, well, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think about the student loan debt, or, maybe like, Rock, you're weird. You can go ahead and say that too. But yeah, the whole, just the consequences, I really want people to grow up sooner than later. I want to marry someone And I'm not marrying someone who, when you pull out your phone and you go on a dating app and you're looking for someone, because, they get mad at you, right? They get mad. Oh, well, why are you looking at someone who's in their 20s? You're 36, about to turn 37. You should date someone your own age. Okay, well, let me see who's my own age. And either, sad to say, that you haven't taken care of themselves physically, or they still have this mentality of, I just want to have fun. I want to go to bars and get drunk and all that. And it's like, that doesn't scream family to me. That doesn't scream responsibility. Pictures of you gallivanting around the world, it looks like you have a lot of debt. You going to Disney World in Las Vegas, it looks like you enjoy pleasures more so than, so come on. Anyways, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think.